What's up, everybody? Welcome to Podcast Now. I'm Alex, and in this video, I want to talk about this WB Games, this new game that's basically being created. Now, I was sent this by a couple different people. Actually, I was sent this by like 4 or 5 different people. I did see this myself, and I was debating whether or not to talk about it, and I think you'll see why. And it's mainly because I'm worried about it. I'm worried about it from the team that it's from. I'm worried about it from what it sounds like it's going to be. But there is definitely, I'm not going to, be solely negative. There's definitely potential. There's a lot of possibilities of what the game could actually be just in the first place, so that is very exciting. So we're going to go over it. This comes from Comic Book Gaming. I'm going to read over it, and we'll go from there really quickly. If you guys do like this kind of stuff, make sure, as always, you're subscribed, the bell icon turned on. If you guys want to follow me over on Twitter, Podcast Now 15, one of the best ways of getting me information. If you guys ever see anything that you want me to talk about, that's one of the best ways of kind of getting my attention, okay? So here's the deal. This comes from Warner Bros. Games career website, which is a pretty cool place to go to. I've gone to there a few times just to kind of see what it's about. And they listed a bunch of jobs. There's actually quite a bit of jobs for their San Diego studio. Now, from what I know about the San Diego studio, it was, I believe, opened in 2019, but it was mainly made to be like a mobile games, hub where they're only going to make stuff like that. So that was kind of the first thing that really threw me off about this was, and by the way, and you guys have probably seen the title of this video, right? It's free to play. This upcoming game is going to be free to play. So when I saw free to play, when I saw that it was coming from their San Diego team, I thought it was some sort of weird, mobile game, okay? And that's not what it is. That's kind of scary at the same time. Obviously, studios can be rebranded. I'm not saying like that is just like a death sentence. We'll keep going and we'll kind of circle back to that though. The listings all vary in what they mentioned, but the key details specify that these roles are meant to be working on a free-to-play AAA game. So obviously that AAA part is what, okay, fine, like, okay, we've separated the mobile stuff. It's also mentioned specifically as a next-generation title, meaning obviously only next-gen, and that's because the game is only in pre-production. So from pre-production to full-on production, that can take it can take as little as a few months. It can take as much as like a year or so. Okay, so and then from that point, it's probably another year, 2 years. So we're really looking at a game that's probably 2 years at the earliest, maybe 4 years, obviously, if things go wrong or if it's super ambitious. Okay, so 2 to 4 years, I'd say, when this is going to happen. It also does mention to be a live service title. Okay, so that is something that scares the living heck out of me. And then obviously, Comic Book Gaming goes on and keeps talking about, there's obviously a lot of different things. They could do a DC thing, they could do Mortal Kombat, they can do Batman, which obviously is DC, they can do Lord of the Rings, all of that stuff. So again, I mean, look, it's a new game. It's a game that we know nothing about, and it's years and years away, so it would be silly for me to say, like, I'm sitting here, like, shaking back, like, rocking back and forth, and I'm terrified for it. I'm not going to get it because of these things. Like, obviously, neither of those two things are true. Any game that probably does come from WB, that's a free-to-play game, that if it is one of their, owned IPs, one of their own franchises, obviously I'm going to play it. If it is a Batman open world, MMO, and it's free to play, like, obviously I'll play it, okay? If it's DC Universe Online 2, I would play it, okay? I don't know if I would necessarily like it, but I would definitely play it, all right? So just to keep that in mind, because I know some people will say, man, you're being kind of negative, or you're talking about it and we don't even really know about it. Still, the few things that, scare me is it's a team that did mobile games. Now, let's go back to that for a second, because I said, like, that's been done in the past. One example is, and funny enough, it seems like maybe it's just San Diego. Maybe San Diego is home of studios being changed from one thing to the other. Because remember, Sony has a San Diego team, and that team originally was helped with, like, engine work, right? They kind of did behind-the-scenes technology stuff, and Sony literally rebranded them to make AAA games, and now they're making a AAA game, whether it's a remake of Uncharted or God of War, which we've heard before, whether it's a brand new Uncharted game altogether. So, like, and I'm very excited for the possibility. So, it would be kind of hypocritical for me to say, like, you can't pull it off if you switch. You can. And, well, yet again, we haven't seen it, come to fruition yet, but I'm sure it's been done before where game developers do one thing and they switch to the other and they pull it off well, okay? So that alone is not a death sentence. It's a little, it's something to keep our eye on for sure, like if they're kind of overwhelmed by it. The free-to-play thing, I mean, look, there's a lot of free-to-play games. There's a lot of good free-to-play games. Again, that on its own isn't a death sentence. It is a little different. It's definitely a different kind of game. And then you tie in the live service stuff. So that is, again, where it gets very scary. Like, will this be a Marvel's Avengers, but free to play, and therefore worse than Marvel's Avengers? You know what I mean? And I know I always go back to that kind of example. I think it's just one that a lot of people will go back to. It's hard. It's, you know, that's kind of the point that we're at, and it's hard to kind of talk beyond that because, you know, obviously, like, you know, they have Mortal Kombat. They have, you can list off these franchises, and you're like, all right, does a Mortal Kombat free-to-play game sound accurate? I don't know. Does, you know, because, and also, you know, that Mortal Kombat's still being worked on by NetherRealm. Harry Potter. Do they make a Harry Potter open world free to play game? Well, Hogwarts Legacy is already going on. And then it kind of leads you, obviously there's more, but they could go to DC. And again, we've had DC stuff. In fact, we've had very big open DC games that have been kind of free to play, and they've worked decently well, right? So it's kind of a situation where would I say I'm more worried than not? Probably, just because live service and free-to-play combined doesn't sound good. Warner Bros., we know that they're going down a more live service path, right? We talked about that rumor, or not even a rumor. They said it a few weeks ago, and we talked about, okay, what does it mean for Gotham Knights? What does it mean for Suicide Squad? And what does it mean for Hogwarts Legacy? So, and when we did that, we kind of came, I think, to the conclusion, maybe don't be so worried about Gotham Knights. Probably be worried about Suicide Squad. And Hogwarts Legacy, you could see it, but at the same time, it also maybe doesn't make sense. So, like, that's kind of an iffy one. But in the future, we should probably be scared of what the future is for Warner Bros. Beyond even those 3 games. This is one of them. This actually is full on. If it's a free-to-play live service game, that's like the biggest part about it. That is scary. So it's kind of just getting it out there ahead of time. As to what it could be, people did ask me that. Let me throw a wild one at you. Teen Titans. I would love a Teen Titans game. Now, okay, my 2 games, right, where like Warner Bros. Montreal is making the second game. Whenever people ask me what I want from it, I always say 2 things. Wonder Woman, I want a Wonder Woman like solo game, and I want Teen Titans. So if you give that to me, if it's a free-to-play, you know, live service game, that would probably suck. But if you give me a Teen Titans game under that, I'd probably be okay. I would give you more slack than if you gave me something else. Okay, so those are always my top 2, like, dream ones. I know some people said, like, a Justice League. Maybe you do, like, a Justice League open-world game. I mean, obviously, that would be very, very... I mean, but Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League is kind of the opposite of that. So do you do the reverse? Do you play as the Justice League and then you're versing all of their villains? Like, so, I mean, you definitely could. I would say it's a big possibility, mainly because of how big Justice League is. You know what I mean? So maybe those would be my 3 suggestions for them. Beyond that, I mean, if they want to do another Harry Potter thing, something like that, that would be kind of cool as well. We'll have to see. Maybe it's a Middle Earth thing. Maybe it's a, like, you know, I mean, we have 3 of those games. I mean, 2 of them, and then the third one probably is happening by Monolith. But maybe they're doing something too. So they could double up. They could double up on something that. And honestly, when it comes to DC stuff, that's kind of, I will admit, that is what we want, right? We not necessarily like copying what's already been done, but like if we want this like renaissance, this resurgence of DC games, then we may need to get into some territories where they're not copying each other, but it's like, oh, well, Batman appeared in this game. Well, now he's also appearing in this one. We may have to have that. A crossover is the word, right? We may need to have that if we want the DC games to like really explode. So I would probably usher them closer to going DC rather than any other, you know, property that they have. But we'll have to see over the next, again, I mean, I don't think we're going to see this game for another 2-3 years at the minimum. So we'll have to just keep our eyes peeled. So let me know in the comments below, what do you guys think? Are you worried about it? What do you think it is? What kind of game do you think it is? Or I guess what property? Let me know. As always, make sure you guys are subscribed, bell icon turned on. If you guys want to follow me over on Twitter, Podcast Now 15 is my Twitter handle. Again, thank you to everybody that sent me this link. I really do appreciate it. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I hope to see you all on the next video.